guys, it's Lynnea, and today we're going to be taking a peek into the new Kindred Stamps Teen Detectives box and also making some cards with the products in this box. So to start off with, I'm just going to walk you through what you'll get in your box. There's a sticker sheet, some washi tape, glitter, which is actually glow in the dark, some sequins. Of course, you're going to get your little flare badge and a little candy piece there. The Teen Detectives papers are double-sided and there are 24 designs. So there's 12 sheets and each side has a print on it. I love these prints. These are perfect for guys or for girls. They're totally like that groovy kind of color combination, and so is that tie-dye stencil. So awesome. And here is the large 4x8 stamp set that comes in the Teen Detectives box. So really this box is super jam-packed full of things. And remember that this is a limited edition box. Once it's sold out, you won't be able to get these products, the stamp set and the paper elsewhere. And when you order this box, you need to order just the box on its own because this does ship separately from anything else. So keep that in mind when you're making an order, just the box on its own. So I went ahead and stamped out a bunch of every one of the characters, and I colored them each 3 times. I do that a lot when I am making cards with a stamp set that I really love. I am not good at coloring, I'm slow at it, and most of the time I'm very critical of how I've colored my images. So when I color, I just sit down and I color them all at once. And I color them multiple times so that I can just cut them out and I don't have to think about coloring when I sit down to make cards. So today we're going to be making 3 cards with the products in this box. I started out with a piece of cardstock and I added some peeled paint distress ink to it. Now I had run out of white cardstock, and while I was at Walmart I just decided to buy some HP 110 pound cardstock, and I didn't think that I would use it, and when I was making this card that's the one that I grabbed on accident. And as I was ink blending on the ink, you can see here that I have it's kind of splotchy, which in this case I think it works. So I will just have to keep that in mind when I'm looking for this kind of distressed cardstock, that it does the work for me. So I used that peeled paint all over my background cardstock, and then I grabbed the forest stencil and I added some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink over top of it. And I specifically chose the oxide ink to ink the trees with, because since the oxide ink has pigment properties to it, it's going to sit on top of the peeled paint, the regular distress ink, so that the gray shows up on top of the green without having to do a lot of masking and blending and all that good stuff. So then I used the center part of the stencil to mask off the hickory smoke trees that I did. I moved my stencil up a little bit and I used black soot oxide ink, and check that out. It looks so cool. And actually this card is inspired by a card that I saw in the fan club. I think it was a Kindred Stamps design team member had created a little forest background for their characters. And so I decided to do one with the forest stencil, doing some masking and some blending. I grabbed some more Distress Oxide ink, and actually in the end I did go back in and add some squeezed lemonade on top of here just to brighten up that moon a little bit. And then I picked out some of the characters to add to my card, and I stacked up a sentiment and heat embossed that with white embossing powder. And now I'm just going to use my favorite liquid adhesive. This is the iCraft Ultra Bond liquid adhesive, and I'm just going to glue these characters down flat onto the card. And that is going to be the end of my first card, and this one actually might be one of my favorites. I love this nighttime spooky forest scene. So let's move on to the second card. For this one, I wanted to keep it clean and simple and have like a chalkboard effect almost, but super easy. So I'm going to take a piece of black cardstock and I will stick that in my MISTI. And I have the grid, the mouse pad grid in my MISTI, and I forgot, I think this is non-stick because I could never get anything to stick to it, so I'm just going to use my magnet instead of the tape. I will grab all of the characters here, and I will just start adding them onto my cardstock, arranging them how I think I want them to go. Eventually they're all going to get stamped 2 or 3 times anyway, but I didn't want them to be straight up and down, so I'm putting some of them, sideways and just arranging them, and then I can pick them all up at once with the door of my MISTI. I will use my anti-static powder bag, which you'll see in the end didn't really help me much anyway. I had so much stray embossing powder, and I just kind of went with it because I've never had that much stray embossing powder, and I went with it. It is what it is. So I stamped it with the Versamark ink, sprinkled on my white embossing powder, and then heat set it. And I did that 3 times until my whole card base was covered with all of these little characters. And I did do my best to wipe that off with a paintbrush, but you'll see in the end that I still had some stray pieces of embossing powder. So once I was all done heat embossing my background, I decided that since I still had my embossing supplies out, that I would work on my sentiment. So I have a piece of vellum in my MISTI, and I took my favorite sentiment from the Teen Detective stamp set, stamped that out with the Versamark ink, and then heat embossed that in white as well. To kind of spruce up my background a little bit, I grabbed my Spectrum Noir Clear Shimmer Overlay pen, and I'm just adding some glitter here and there to my characters. I'm sticking to just their clothes, and then on the dog for his collar, this little girl here, I did her glasses and her magnifying glass. I didn't do any of the hair or faces, and you can kind of see here that little bit of glitter that just adds some interest in the background. Here's my sentiment strip that I had embossed on vellum. And my favorite way to add vellum to my cardstock is to just wrap it around and adhere it onto the back of my card. For some reason with this card though, I thought that it needed a little bit extra hold. So I grabbed my liquid adhesive and I tried to hide it behind the letters that I had white heat embossed. And it worked for the most part, but when I added it to my card, I accidentally shifted my vellum piece. So you're going to see here that I have adhesive showing where it shouldn't be showing. And that's because I stuck my vellum down and then I shifted it up. So you're going to see some dots of the liquid adhesive when I turn this around here, especially in that bottom left-hand corner. So that's when I decided to cover that up. So I am just going to add this to a card base using my liquid glue. And then I'll add some gems, some clear white-ish gems to my background, and that will finish off card 2. For card 3, I knew that I had to break out this tie-dye stencil because I feel like this just fits the fandom so well. And what's better than just simple tie-dye is like rainbow tie-dye. So I'm going to grab a whole bunch of my distress inks. I will start off with picked raspberry. I'll use some spiced marmalade, some squeezed lemonade. My green is twisted citron. I use peacock feathers for my blue, and then dusty concord for my purple. And I'm just going to go in with my blender brushes here and just blend on inks in various blobs. But I am making sure to keep my inks that will blend well together next to each other. So I'll go in with my yellow here next to my orange because blue, green, and purple aren't really going to blend well with the orange, so I knew that I had to put my yellow there. But I could keep my one side of my pink open because you can blend in purple or blue there. And I only really made brown in like 2 little parts of my card, not enough that I was going to start over. So originally I was just going to put a couple characters in the center because I did make sure to put the center part of that swirl in the center of my card. But I decided that I really wanted a card with all of the characters on it. So I'm going to turn it to be landscape instead of portrait. And I will add all 5 of the characters on there. And I will use my MISTI and some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp the sentiment at the bottom. Really, this is a super clean and simple card, just some stenciling and then the sentiment at the bottom. But that's going to complete the 3rd card. So in just a second here, I'm going to be pulling in all 3 of the cards that I made in this video. I would love for you to leave me a comment below in the description letting me know which one is your favorite. I love all of them for different reasons. This first one was inspired by a card in the fan club, and I love it so much. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!